I forgot fucking Matt Pat in the FNAF movie. His name is Ness, his character.
Hi, welcome to the Krusty Kast podcast. That's our opener, I guess. We're keeping that.
Yeah, why not?
So let's all introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I'm Jasmine. You may recognize me from such things as, I don't know, being Jasmine, I guess. I don't have clever Troy McClure-esque lines on the spot on the top of my head, sorry.
I'm Maddie, and I need to go across the room to turn off the heater, because that's going to mess with the microphone.
Bye, Maddie. I'm Gwen. You might know me from online and also real life.
It was already off.
I'm tonight's special guest, Randal, and I just want to say it's such an honor to finally get to be on the Krusty Kast podcast.
Yeah.
I've been watching the show for years, and I think all of you do great work, and I spent all my life being ready for this moment. It's such an honor.
Spent hours of my life flipping patties.
Flipping. Oh, God.
Oh.
Edit that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway. SpongeBob.
Patrick.
SpongeBob.
Okay, let's start. Let's start with... We have two fun episodes. We have an episode that most people, I feel like, a bit of an underappreciated gem, maybe, Culture Shock, that I know some of you are very excited to talk about. And we have fun. That kind of episode with the song.
That title should be self-explanatory, I think.
They call it fun because you watch it and you're like, I had fun.
So true.
Culture Shock is not a very self-explanatory title.
No.
Let's get into that one because that's the first episode.
Is that supposed to be like a future shock pun or something? Because it's very obtuse if it is. So I know that's a common trope for cartoon titles to, like, go to.
I don't know if it's supposed to be wordplay or what.
Yeah.
Can
Anyway, so
I do the bubble transition?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
bubble
right.
transition. Her name is Bubble Woman now. Sorry, I'm all over the place. We just start with Culture Shock, which starts off, it's one of those episodes where the Krusty Krab is an absolute failure of a business and no one is coming in.
Yeah, this is in the
These
dark
episodes
universe.
are fascinating to me because, like, the status quo of SpongeBob is the Krusty Krab is a very successful restaurant, and so having just these episodes where it's not successful, and I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm sorry.
It's very like
It's like two different. It's like Legend of Zelda. It's the different timelines. You have the hero defeated timeline where the Krusty Krab is in perpetual debt and nobody goes there, and then you have the hero's victorious timeline where it's the most popular eatery in town and it's always swamped.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do think it's very interesting how the writers like mess around with that so often. Like usually it's like the Krusty Krab is beloved and everyone loves it, but sometimes it's just like destitute if they want to do that episode.
I know that Patty Hype also has that dynamic, and I feel like this isn't like an early installment weirdness thing. I swear there are later episodes that go for this dynamic also, but
yeah, I think so.
I think the reason nobody's coming to the Krusty Krab is because for like many episodes in a row, it's just been like everybody who's worked there has just abandoned it and nobody is working there and it's understaffed and nobody is getting their food.
I guess, yeah.
Anyway, we get this little sequence of just all the characters kind of just standing around is pretty fun. I like SpongeBob obsessively cleaning the very shiny table.
Yeah.
I like Squidward looking at like real life human people for some reason.
And then he thinks,
and imagining
this guy's just
being
like
a
me.
real life human person. So we need to have a conversation about Squidward's flesh sona.
Squidward's like, he's just like
Which is
me.
to say, I don't have a conversation prepared at all.
Yeah,
I just
no.
wanted to say the word flesh zona. You're welcome.
His body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
And so basically, the Krusty Krab is like dead right now, and Mr. Krabs laments his decision to, for some reason, make a salad bar.
It's weird that he's offering it for free. Like, I get he's
Yeah.
desperate, but he must be really desperate.
Yeah, they must have not had like anybody in a month if he's going to that level.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, what the hell?
What?
Sorry, I'm just looking at the screenshots on the wiki. And wow, this is a good bottom lip.
Yeah.
It's a very
Anyway,
kissable looking
anyway.
Mr. Krabs.
I don't know if any of you noticed this, but there's like a kind of weird pacing thing here where Mr. Krabs is like, oh, we're going to need to make some changes around here. And then they do this bit where like this guy walks in. And it's a pretty funny bit, but then like right after that, Mr. Krabs is like, okay, now let's talk about the changes we have to make. It feels like
Yeah,
they just like, we're going to like transition from like him saying we need some changes to the office, but then like they also wanted to do like, they wanted to fill out a bit more of the episode, so they added this joke with this guy coming in.
Yeah.
And it just kind of is like in the middle of this scene. It is a little bit weird for pacing. On the other hand, we get the debut of fan favorite incidental. He kept us waiting for a bubble guy.
Another Doug Lawrence incidental voice.
Lots of Doug Lawrence incidental voices in this episode, I noticed.
Mhm.
I
So,
think
like,
he's 90% of this episode's voices.
Yeah.
yeah, he's a Squidward, he's Plankton, he's a lot of incidentals. How do
He
you
is
think it
Squidward.
feels the he kept us waiting for a bubble incidental right now?
I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see.
And so, basically, this guy, he's come in here because he needs some change. It's kind of a funny bit where, like, Mr. Krabs, like, don't screw this one up to SpongeBob,
Yeah.
and he goes through this whole, like,
It's fun seeing
Song
SpongeBob
and
be
dance.
over enthusiastic about something. It's a pretty basic joke, but it works. It's funny.
I think he had some fun
I like this
delivery.
bit.
It's very like well delivered. I like the facial expressions. I love the dynamic of like this guy just being so awkward about this.
Yeah, I love
Once-
him just handing the 1 penny to SpongeBob and running away.
And we get a
Yeah.
second of French Bob again, where he's like Monsieur Chanchet.
Yeah.
Tom Kenny really liked the French voice in the first season, I think. He had a
I mean,
field
he
day with
continues
it.
being the French narrator, just even after season 1.
But I'm more so referring to like the
Oh
non-narrator
yeah, the
French
French
bits.
SpongeBob voice.
He was just feeling his Frenchness in general this time of year.
Yeah.
And
Alright, so Mr. Krabs now he takes them to the office.
mhm.
He complains that sales are low, and SpongeBob starts pitching a bunch of silly marketing gimmick ideas. Then Squidward hears live entertainment thrown around. He just starts like going all over the place because he
I
realizes he
want
can
to
make
talk
this about
about like
himself.
some of SpongeBob's ideas, though. I'm sorry to
Oh,
like
yeah.
interrupt your train because like a free pair of a free pair of socks with every purchase. That's a hella good deal. If my fucking McDonald's started offering that or whatever, I'd eat there every day because I burn through socks quick.
Yeah, socks are useful.
But here's the
Socks
thing
are
though.
useful.
How many people in Bikini Bottom even wear shoes?
That's a good point.
Huh. Yeah.
That's why I like Squidward and Mr. Krabs are looking at him like that, because they don't wear shoes. They don't wear socks.
Yeah.
And I like his pitch of double patty midnight madness. I want to know what that is. What that could even mean.
And I was also interested in a mouthful of clams day because it makes me think of just a restaurant adding mouthful of birds day to their schedule.
I like
Yeah.
SpongeBob just like materializing a bunch of clams in his mouth.
Yeah. I think they were always there. He was just waiting to bring it up.
He's a disturbing creature, that SpongeBob.
God.
He's really
Right.
wacky in this opening.
Now we get like Squidward like just being an absolute diva, just like lounging around on Mr. Krabs' desk and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think probably the best part of this episode for me is just Squidward. I think this is a good character episode for him. I like how he's like so enthusiastic. He's like getting what he wants, and he's like being like a hammy diva about it, but he's also like a complete selfish asshole at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a very good balance.
Yeah.
I like that he's playing to Mr. Krabs here. Like Pearl could be a star, and it's kind of interesting that Mr. Krabs cares enough to want that for Pearl.
Yeah. I like when Mr. Krabs like cares a lot about Pearl. I think it's a good dynamic for him.
Yeah.
It's a good Mr. Krabs father episode, I think.
I like
Yeah.
the picture of him and Pearl.
Yeah.
So they do it. There's
Yeah.
this huge stage now.
Yeah, the setting
I
up.
love SpongeBob's line. Hopping clams, a talent show. I'm talented.
What were you gonna say, Gwen?
Oh, nothing. I was gonna get on with the plot summary and mention SpongeBob's audition.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
just mean of Squidward. I mean, I'm sure his parents would want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made
I
a
mean, if I saw
guy.
someone bring a bubble to life, I'd be pretty amazed.
He disrespects beloved character Bubble Hippo.
Yeah.
Beloved character Bubble Hippo, who is in multiple episodes.
I was gonna say this guy like comes back. I know that. I know you've like
Yeah,
posted about that.
He's in SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout, and like there's a drawing of him in the Salty Sponge in season 13.
Thank God.
I think you can count on one hand the amount of things that haven't come back in another SpongeBob episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And so Squidward's not impressed. What the people want is culture, not dancing bubbles.
I think this is pretty cultured. Also, I like his tennis shoe joke.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
think his tennis shoe joke is honestly pretty pathetic,
yeah,
but I do like how he just laughs at his awful joke.
See, like I like it because I didn't like think about it as a kid, but I'm pretty sure the joke is like it's supposed to be like culture as in like bacteria, and he's saying that his shoes are really
Oh
smelly.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get what the joke is meant to be. I just don't think it's a funny joke.
I thought it was funny because I didn't get it when I watched this episode as a kid, and now I get it. So now I feel smart that I know more about bacteria.
Yeah.
And also, I like whenever
Awesome.
Squidward makes this stupid little joke and laughs for like a minute.
I mean, I'm glad to see him happy. And
So- We
the
transition
net
to It's
scene.
Night. Yeah. It's
And-
night out. And Boat.
They must
Oh.
have done a really good job getting the word out on this one because the house is packed and it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
a fancy gala type deal, which
God,
is
yeah, they're
kind
all
of interesting.
I love Patrick's little tuxedo. Also, favorite line of the episode is when SpongeBob's parents show up and Mr. Krabs introduces himself with his classic line, "I'm Mr. Krabs and I like money."
Very good line. So good that they had to bring it back for the movie.
I like how in its debut here, like it doesn't have any context. This is just how he introduces
Yeah.
himself to some random people.
This.
Hmm.
Sorry, I'm completely out of it. Did we already do Home Sweet Pineapple, or is this the first time?
Yes, yes, we
Okay,
have.
good. Okay,
We have,
so we
yeah.
have seen these. Okay.
I mean,
So
it's
I wanted
nice.
to talk about like the newswoman fish, the field reporter,
Oh
because
yeah.
she interests me because like later on that role would be given to Perch Perkins, but we only have Proto Perch right now, so we just have this
Yeah.
weird random incidental who yes returns in later episode,
Oh, thank God.
but never as a news reporter.
Mhm.
She's just like around.
I just noticed they have that guy, Tom, I think he's usually called or whatever,
Yeah.
as the cameraman.
That's
I'm
weird.
glad he's like I'm glad he's
Oh yeah,
employed.
the
Yeah, he's employed.
the guy from the end of Squeaky Boots that's Southern.
But
For some
also, he's
reason.
he's one of the people in the talent show, if you'll notice. Like, a few scenes later.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
that's like
what?
his twin brother Todd or something.
Yeah,
You
there's a
think
couple
Maybe
Todd was, like,
incidentals out
upset
here.
that Tom was too busy with his cameraman job that actually watched the talent show? That would have been a good subplot.
Yeah, I want an episode in like season 17 focusing on that.
Yeah.
Also, I'm glad in the talent show we also, we're talking about incidentals, we have one of my favorites, awful little fish head naked guy with glasses. It's just the most
It-
disgusting shade of green.
This I don't like that one, frankly.
He's really gross. I think in general, the like eclectic cast of characters, we have like a few incidentals, including Tom, and we also just have Gary, Pearl, and Plankton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did they even let Plankton do this?
Yeah. They should have seen what he does coming. I also like how
Oh.
this is Plankton's like official second appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's
Okay.
fun he gets a little minor. Like, I kind of thought that early on Plankton was a character reserved for Spotlight episodes. Like, sort of a Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy situation where if he shows up, he's the focal point. But no, he still gets little minor roles like this one, and I
Yeah, that's how-
appreciate that.
That's how I thought of him too, so it's a pleasant surprise to see him in this role.
I think it adds a bit.
Also, another favorite line of mine is I like Squidward being like, "You might think this night is all about you. Well, it's not. It's about me."
Yeah,
just such a
I
bitch.
have it written down. I wrote it down. You might be thinking this is your one shot at the big time. Well, it's not. It's mine.
Yeah.
And then SpongeBob wants to show off his talent by becoming the amazing Mr. Absorbency. I'm not sure about this one, SpongeBob. I don't think I care much for this.
I think the hippo was a better track.
Yeah, now you're just getting desperate, SpongeBob.
I will say, a problem I have with this episode is the like SpongeBob B plot, I guess, gets very repetitive, where there's just a bunch of like
Yeah.
pretty much identical scenes where like SpongeBob like walks up to Squidward and does something wacky or says something, and Squidward just kind of brushes him off.
This whole episode is
I
just
kind of like
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob's general enthusiasm, though, that he's just like so excited about this. In contrast to Squidward's apathy, I don't know. I like how SpongeBob's characterized here, even if the scenes get a little samey.
Like,
This
it's
whole-
cute, but also I just don't think it's very like funny.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This whole episode is just SpongeBob like pitching things to people and nobody going for it.
No one is following the yes and rule.
Mhm.
Also, it's kind of fucked up that they let Plankton in the show, but they didn't let SpongeBob in.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
the show
so we
starts.
to just write this down in our keeping track of SpongeBob character dynamics. Squidward likes Plankton more than SpongeBob.
Squidward
He likes
most things more than
plankton,
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob.
We'll see like the other side of that though in the next episode.
Yeah,
Squidward's
True,
betrayal of
true.
Plankton.
big heel turn on his part.
Yeah.
But the show starts.
I like him giving
Yeah.
his speech, and I do kind of like it's a bit of a bit that goes on for a while, but I do kind of just like Squidward like doing his speech nervously, and then like Patrick laughs at his joke, and he feels emboldened, but then like Patrick just keeps laughing at shit that isn't jokes, and Squidward just gets pissed off.
I think that the first bit is funny, where it's just like it kills with Patrick, and Squidward's kind of happy about that. He's glad his joke landed, but I think it needed to be like at least 10 seconds shorter than it actually was.
Yeah, it feels a bit
Yeah, I
season one joke that goes on too long.
I mean, that would make sense. We are in season 1.
Yeah,
get
this is
our-
a very season one episode.
And we get our
It's a
first.
very season 1 episode, which I'll get to this later. I think is simultaneously its biggest strength and biggest weakness to me.
Mhm. So we get our first performer.
Yeah.
It's Pearl, and Pearl's scene is so mid. Her joke is that she's a teenage girl, and also she's a really big whale. So she does cheerleading, but she's big, so it bounces the whole room around. I just think it's so, like, I watched like Goons on the Moon from season 10 for another podcast, and they do like the exact same jokes there. So I think it's interesting that Pearl just kind of has like one joke, and that's mostly what she's used for like decades. It's not even like a particularly funny joke.
Yeah, I think Pearl might honestly be like the least fleshed out member of the main SpongeBob cast at this point.
Can I
Yeah,
say
for
that's
sure.
that's probably one of the worst frames we've ever put in a collage. I hate that.
Maybe one of the worst
Disgusting.
incidentals.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting incidentals in this episode.
It's
I think
packed.
they're like the fancy group.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, about Pearl,
I
they
do
do like
like
do give
that-
her like some focus stuff later on with like in like season 9 and 10 and stuff. I know, so she's not like completely barren, but it gets like it takes a while, and even then, most of her stuff is super repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do like Mr. Krabs being proud of her, though. I think that's nice and wholesome.
It's very cute. Mr. Krabs is cute in this episode.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And we do get a My Leg in this episode. Is okay, I think this is the third ever My Leg. Because there was one in Hall Monitor, there was one in Boating School, which is the origin. And yes, Fred is in the crowd in this episode, so far nothing's contradicting Fred being the My Leg guy.
Mm-hmm. And there's no vehicular manslaughter this time, so that's new ground for the My Leg joke.
Yeah. Paramount Plus still calling it My Legs, which is wrong. Stop subtitling it like that.
We get the Gary slam poetry joke, which I feel like is like one of the more memorable jokes in the episode.
Yeah.
You get Sandy's one line.
I think it helps that, like, it doesn't go on too long. It sort of just cuts to Squidward and SpongeBob's bit while...
Yeah, it's very
Gary's
snappy.
going.
You get the gist of it. And also Sandy is there, which I just think it's funny that they just have Sandy in this one scene really quick.
So then we go to Plankton's.
Give one line.
We go to Plankton's scene, and I want to point out, you know how we have long word sometimes? This feels like a Longton. He's very proportioned. I don't...
He's a bit like String Bean,
you sound a bit quiet to me right now.
Am I?
A little.
Okay, well,
I mean...
I have myself boosted in the program anyway, so I'll be good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, isn't it funny?
He looks odd in this episode, I think, just in general.
Yeah. Anyway, he does his bit where he makes a Krabby Patty disappear by taking it.
Yeah, what was the screening process on this talent show?
Yeah.
They should have known this was happening.
I like to think that Plankton did, like, the Shia Kazing thing just as his check-in and just completely hid his intentions.
This might be a controversial opinion, but I think this scene is also so mid. Because it's just so, like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's the most, like,
filler,
straightforward way you could do this joke, where he just grabs a Krabby Patty and Mr. Krabs stands in front of the door and everyone fucking boos at him. It's funny how he's like Shia Kazing and blows himself up, but...
I was listening to some of the audience jeering at Plankton there, and one of them said, "Get off the stage," when he was out the door, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And after this, we have...
Also, before we move on...
I like this scene just for how straightforward it is, though.
Yeah.
It does have...
He's not even trying to hide his intentions. He just wants to get on with it. This is his bit. We all know it. We all love it.
Mm-hmm. Also, the scene is very notable to me because I've been playing Nick All-Stars Brawl, and whenever, like, Plankton attacks after using his recovery up B, he, like, shouts Shia Kazing.
Okay, so I want to make a note on that, which is between that and how every bit of Squidward's dance routine is incorporated into his moveset. Is this the most referenced episode in Nick All-Stars Brawl 2?
I think it might be, which is very weird.
Might be, yeah. Huh. So then Mr. Krabs gets angry at Squidward and he's like, don't fuck it up. Don't, this is your last chance, buddy. What's happening?
Before we move on, I just want to say that, like, between the three, like, performance jokes we've had, It feels like all of them are just like the most straightforward joke you could tell with these characters.
Yeah.
I guess we're
Yeah.
like, it's a symptom of like this is just a very season 1 episode. It is just doing the very basic bits of the characters before they've been like fleshed out enough that they can expand upon them. We just get like, oh, Pearl's a whale, so she's big, and Gary's a snail and he can't talk, and Plankton's evil and steel.
It's
Yeah,
just so weird
I'm
that
very
that is.
curious how this episode would be if we got it in like season 2 or 3.
Yeah. I feel like we'd
'Cause
have
I
like,
think-
for one
more
thing, we'd probably have like
interesting.
Patrick and Sandy in the talent show and doing more interesting things.
Yeah.
It's just so weird that that's Plankton's second appearance, and nobody
Yeah.
knew that he was gonna be a recurring character.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we get the big scene of the episode. Squidward's funny dance.
Live.
This scene
There's
is
a
honestly
weird
awesome.
little animation
Yeah.
loop before Squidward's act that I noticed, which just
Mm.
you see two incidentals turning their head to look, and then they turn again. Like it loops when it shouldn't. It's weird.
They're doing
For the
a
most
double
part, I
take.
think
They
this
can't
is a
believe
pretty
it.
alright looking episode in season 1, but that one bit of weird animation stood out to me.
Are we
Yeah,
at
we
the?
get a lot of it's made up for with like some of the most fun animation in this season with Squidward's dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He's like
true.
green screened out.
I love how much Squidward builds himself up here. How he just has all the balloons and confetti, the
Yeah.
big name and lights.
He's such a diva. I love him.
He's
I
such
support-
a diva.
So,
I
like you said,
support him.
every like bit of this dance is pretty much, especially like the like breakdown or whatever, is referenced in his moveset in Nick All Star Brawl 2, which is very fun.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of like screen time here for this really ugly fucking incidental who doesn't really age into being a
Yeah.
really recurringly used incidental. The fucking green guy with hair
Green guy with
Doug,
hair.
Doug Lawrence Watt the guy.
with like like
What
really
the-
with, like really distressing blue eyes.
Gosh.
Anyway, I do love here how this Chekhov's salad bar comes back. The payoff
Yeah.
of the free
Yeah.
salad bar being people throw tomatoes, so Mr. Krabs starts charging. I like his like evil smile here a lot.
If a
I-
salad bar is introduced in Act 1, tomatoes must be thrown by Act 3.
I'm just glad that he kept the salad bar. He didn't throw the idea away altogether.
Yeah.
See, persistence pays off.
Oh, we get circle pupil Squidward right there.
Yeah.
And Fred is voiced by Doug Lawrence here, who is his usual voice actor. As we said, Doug Lawrence voices like every incidental in this episode.
All the Doug Lawrences show up in the audience to jeer Doug Lawrence when he fails his magic show.
Yeah.
Very self-deprecating of him.
Anyway, we get the big conclusion bits of the episode of SpongeBob mopping, and everyone loves him.
Before
Yeah.
that, I want to say I just like the no talent wordplay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even know talent. Anyway, I have like probably the hottest take, which I think the SpongeBob mopping bit is really mid and not funny.
Yeah.
So
a
I think
weird
when I
thing to
watched this
enter
episode for the
episode on.
first time, like a week ago, I laughed at this scene, but I also felt it didn't make a lot of sense from a
Like-
narrative perspective.
I don't get what it's going for. I don't get like
Yeah.
the internal logic of it.
I think that might kind of just be what the joke is, that it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Like yeah, that is a joke that like there's no reason they should have loved this so much, but it like doesn't feel like it pays off much in the episode. It just feels very contrived and not. It just doesn't feel very especially funny to me.
Mhm.
And it leads
Yeah.
to kind of a weird joke where Squidward thinks they want an encore even though he got fucking booed off stage horribly.
Yeah, like I said, it's a very contrived thing.
I wrote
it-
this down in my notes. This feels like the exact sort of scene early to mid 2010s Sponge Tubers would refer to as Squidward torture porn if it was done in like season 5.
Maybe.
Well, at
little
least
bit.
he didn't get like physically hurt at any point in this episode, which I think is kind of the big difference there.
Yeah, he just gets tomatoed. Anyway, this is like
Yeah,
a
but
really
I feel
But yeah, you go.
like a lot of the criticism of like Squidward was that SpongeBob does all the same shit Squidward does, but the people like what SpongeBob does, but not Squidward.
Mm-hmm.
And
They
I'm like,
really-
that's sort of the same bit here.
They really fucking milk this scene too. It goes on for like a minute or so.
Yeah, it feels like it goes on forever. They could like cut it
Yeah.
in half and it'd still get the point across.
We could have had
And
more.
so, like,
we kept us waiting for our bubble guy scenes
Yeah.
if they cut this down.
Exactly.
yeah. So SpongeBob is cool because he does the mopping, and then Squidward goes out and he tries doing the mopping, and he's like, no. And so it all ends, and Mr. Krabs comes out of the backstage. And I want to bring up that SpongeBob's dad is rolling the wheelbarrow
It's
with
so
him
fun.
in it.
I think it's so
They're-
funny. Why is
They're both smiling at each other.
It's so tender, honestly. These two have such a connection we didn't even know about.
Yeah.
These two men it seem like they just met tonight, and they're already so bound.
Mr. Krabs is SpongeBob's new dad.
Yeah.
Gonna have to talk about the scandal between them when season 5 new digs rolls around.
Hey, Mr. Krabs, me and Margaret saw you from across the Krusty Krab, and we kind of liked your vibe.
I'm so happy for them. I hope they live their best life.
Yeah.
And
So
Mr.
true.
Krabs is like that performance was awesome, Squidward. We're doing this again next week.
This is a reference to how this episode took a week to make. Or
Yeah.
for us to get to... Whatever.
Yeah.
I had to watch the episode again next week.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, what did we all think of Culture Shock?
So, I gave it a 4, and I think that, as I said earlier, I think its biggest flaw is it's a season 1 episode, and its biggest strength is that it's a season 1 episode.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
I kind of love, like, I think its biggest weakness is it's pretty dry, it feels pretty basic with its jokes and structure. The pacing isn't very quick and snap. At the same time, I kind of just love how weirdly down to earth this episode feels, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It kind of just feels like we're just watching a day in the lives of these characters.
It's very
And they're not trying
yeah.
to put on a show, even though that's literally what the episode's about.
It's a very
It's
slice
very-
of life type episode.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
quaint.
And I kind of love that. And because it's the same thing that makes me both like and not like the episode, I think it just sort of cancels itself out to me
Yeah.
and ends up pretty average. So a 4.
Mm-hmm. It's such a cute girls doing cute things ass episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave it a 4 as well. I don't think it's the best, but I enjoy it usually when I watch it. A lot of the jokes are kind of flat, but I don't know. It's not bad. It's not a bad episode. It's good, I would
Mhm.
say. Yeah.
I gave it a little lower. I gave it a 3. I just thought it was mostly boring. It is just season 1 at its most. I don't know. It's at its most season 1. It's just a kind of chill episode, and I can respect it, but it's also not really what I find entertaining to watch about SpongeBob or cartoons in general. I just end up finding it just dry and not particularly funny or entertaining. It is it's decent. It's pretty fun. It's not nothing in it is super bad. It just isn't good at anything.
Yeah.
I gave this one a 4. I think it's one of the more middle of the road season 1 episodes. It's It's got some funny bits. It's decently charming. It's mostly kind of uneventful and dull, save for, like, the things that they referenced in All-Star Brawl 2.
Mhm.
Also, I may have misremembered, but is this the episode with weird flesh hat incidental, or am I thinking of something else?
That's
That's
next
the next
episode.
one.
That's next. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a little teaser for that then. But it's
Yeah.
a fine episode, I guess.
But it would have been a 7 if if it had Flesh Hat.
Oh, yeah,
So true.
for sure.
Yeah.
That is culture shock.
The ceremony had been lavish and well attended, but still, as the evening wound down, Pikachu, a wistful mix of booze and sentiment, couldn't quite believe that it had already been 20 years. Charmander? Charmander said, slinging an arm over Pikachu's shoulder, grinning sidelong at his inebriated friend. Char! Pikachu laughed. Clearly he wasn't the only one who'd been drinking. They walked together across a lawn littered with beer cans, amusing themselves by taking turns using Charmander's tail to ignite stray paper plates. Pikachu! Pikachu said. It wasn't far from the truth. After all, he didn't mean to appear glum. It was embarrassed to have been caught sulking. Maybe it was his buzz, which was turning, or maybe it was that tragic spirit of evanescence that looms at the periphery of every commemorative event. Pikachu, he said apologetically. Charmander looked at him, as if to say, Charmander. Well, but thought better of it. Instead he said, Charmander! And slapped his friend on the back. Charmander's emotional intelligence had always been one of the things Pikachu appreciated most about him. They came upon a lantern-lit area where tables had been cleared away to make space for a dance floor. Squirtle was performing a hilarious jig, with one hand clamped on his head, setting his yarn. The crowd whooped and hollered as Pikachu approached. He imagined that instead of being at the Kanto Party reservation lawn, they were once again in the clearing of some mysterious wood. The lanterns morphed before his eyes into sublime enchantments. The many raised tents became the shape of fairy trees. The sounds of celebration were replaced by the nefarious chatter of unseen sprites. Off they would head again on one of their brilliant youthful adventures. Then Charmander fell over a chair, rousing Pikachu. Squirtle began doing the moonwalk. Noctows hooted from distant branches as the moon rose. Bulbasaur stood at one of the host tables and hoisted his glass into the air. Clink, clink, clink. It was time for speeches. The crowd huddled excitedly around the dinosaur, who cleared his throat and began reading from a card. Bulbasaur! Bulbasaur commenced. Bulbasaur! The audience laughed politely, and Pikachu slipped away. 20 years. 20 years! Had it really been so long? It seemed like only yesterday that they had all set out together in search of glory and 700 other Pokemon. He kicked a can, thundershocking it instantly. Was this it? Had middle-aged finally caught up to them? Was their roughneck battling days irretrievably behind them? Pikachu! Pikachu! He heard a host of voices cry, echoing through the crisp night air. Pikachu! He ignored them and walked on, in search of the sake tent. Above him, the constellations sprawled, tapestries of radiant cosmic wanderlust. He identified Tauros, charging headlong into Flaffy, saw Ursaring, the belligerent, using Furious Wipe's attack. He observed legendary Rayquaza, the Mega Evolved, twisting into a nebula. Then, to his surprise, the universe revealed his own ancestry. The Pikachu, surfing contentedly at a sandals resort. He hung his head. Suddenly, projected over a megaphone, he heard, Prepare for trouble. Make it double. The ground shook. Pikachu turned to see the careening Meowth dirigible of Team Rocket nose-diving into the fairgrounds. He gasped, Pikachu! Team Rocket? Trying to catch them here? He sprinted towards the ensuing skirmish, where his drunken Pokemon friends fell one by one at the hands of Jesse and James. He used a combination of poison powder spray attacks and a giant vacuum cleaner to suction up all the Pokemon into Pokeballs. He saw Charmander collapse. Squirtle's Yamaka was blasted off. Bulbasaur, usually the hardiest of them all, threw a few wobbling razor leaves before being lifted into the air, unconscious. There he is! There's Pikachu! Jesse cried from amid the wreckage, gesticulating at the Thunder Mouse, who zipped this way and that, a dazzling blur. Catch him, Jesse, catch him! James shrieked, swinging the vacuum tube wildly. But it was too late. Pikachu streaked behind them and released a super effective Thunder Shock. the Zeppelin exploded, and the members of Team Rocket were sent careening towards the moon. As the smoke cleared, the Pokemon awoke from their poison-induced slumber. Squirtle? Squirtle said. Charmander! Charmander explained. Bulbasaur, said somebody. Pikachu flopped onto his belly, exhausted, but smiling from pouch to pouch. He started to laugh, and then found he couldn't stop. Metapod, who was confused, inquired. Choo-choo-choo, Pikachu squeaked. Pika-pee! He rolled onto his back, wiggling his little feet. The other Pokemon exchanged worried glances. Then Charmander turned to his chubby companion and giggled, shooting a volley of flames in the air. Charmander! He cried, and just like that, they were all laughing. Pikachu gazed up to the stars. He again saw Tauros and Flaffy, the mighty Ursaring and the coiled Rayquaza, but to his relief, he no longer saw himself or any trace of his companions in the brittle night sky. They were not yet relegated to the annals of memory, resigned to past glories. They were here with him, on this magnificent earth, chugging super potions. As he looked around at his friends, Metapod evolved into Butterfree, and Pikachu felt quite sure that these next 20 years were going to be the best of their lives.
Alrighty. Second episode.
Yeah.
Get a real treat here, a real beloved episode, FUN, also known as Fun. It's another episode that starts off with an exterior shot of the Krusty Krab.
Mhm.
This time, the Krusty Krab is jam-packed. Which is, I'm pretty sure, the usual status quo for this.
It's like
And
bustling.
SpongeBob's in this weird fryer. He's near the fryers, but it's not like the usual Krusty Krab
Yeah, it's
fryers.
weird.
It's like there's like the sucking up the, I don't even know what to call it, the like
They're
overhead
air
steam
vents?
vent- yeah, they're steam vents.
Yeah, he's like boiling stuff.
I like how he has a hair nut, even though SpongeBob doesn't
Yeah.
have hair. Or does he?
Yeah, do we ever see this part of the I can't say I have in any other episode.
Yeah,
but-
I think it's only in this episode. This
Yeah, this is
episode
like
has
a-
actually a lot of weird animation, I think.
Yeah,
Also,
this is like a
episode,
proper
What
stove with like burners.
Yeah, we'll get into it more. This episode's
Yeah.
like really weird looking in general.
Mhm.
But like,
Yeah,
what's he
we'll
boiling
get
on the
into it.
stove there? What is the Krusty
Water, I
Krab serve that
guess?
needs to be boiled?
I don't know.
Anyway.
French fries.
Anyway, what's important here is the Krusty Krab is under fucking attack.
Yeah, this whole
White-
opener is fucking crazy.
I love how over the top this is, fucking flashing red lights and everything. And we also get
there, sir.
the iconic Squidward frame.
White. Yeah.
Squidward is so enthusiastic in this whole like opening bit here. I
Yeah,
love it.
like after Plankton like gets away with a Krabby Patty, like Squidward's so invested, and like when SpongeBob like reveals himself, he like is so like genuinely
I love that
excited, which is
joke
so unlike
so
him.
much.
That's probably one of my favorite like season 1 jokes. Just like the visual gag of SpongeBob like ripping how someone would rip off their uniform. He just rips off his entire skin to reveal the same thing underneath.
And everyone's just
This-
like, oh. This
Yeah,
also like, opening scene, it feels like really like season 3 to me, honestly, with how like
Yeah.
fast paced and gag packed and like just like one after another of just really weird gags.
The one thing that makes it stand out as a season 1 theme. Ugh, I can't talk today. The thing that makes it stand out as a season 1 scene is the fact that See, I just can't. Is the fact the chum bucket is not right across the street from the Krusty Krab.
Yeah.
What was it not like in the original Plankton introductory episode?
I think it was, but
yeah.
Well, we'll
But-
get into
Plankton
that here in a bit.
Yeah.
town and stuff to get to the Krusty Krab here. It's the See, I'm just.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say when we get to the shot part of the episode, but for now, SpongeBob is giving chase. The Krabby Patty has grown legs and a laser beam, and it's escaping out of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And something's
Yeah,
gotta be
he
done.
like chases Plankton a long way, even though the chum bucket should just be across the street.
We've got police Did he when we ran into this guy in like a hall monitor? Did he have like the star on his skin? Was that
No, they were
I
wearing-
think he had a shirt.
Yeah, they were wearing shirts in that episode.
It's weird how like
Yeah.
sneaked up they get here.
Yeah, it's just some weird shirtless cop incidental who is
Yeah.
in love with SpongeBob.
I
upon
love
seeing his bravery.
he just like is in love with him.
Yeah.
Like
I
said,
wrote
very
down that
fast-paced weird gags.
You're saying, Jasmine?
I wrote down gay topless police officer still wouldn't
Yeah.
allow him at Pride.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. This whole intro just like introduces some wacky characters because we get I want to say this is an instance of hillbilly humor right here.
Yeah, this
It
might be like
might-
the
yeah.
first proper hillbilly humor, or like
I
cowboy
don't know,
humor
they
at
feel
least.
more like cowboy than hillbilly to me.
I guess that's fair.
It's like adjacent. It's the same Southern people are funny humor.
Mhm.
They see SpongeBob like riding his inflated hat, and they start like dancing.
I love the male incidentals design.
Mhm.
The girl
It
incident looks really weird.
Yeah, it's got like
weird how she looks like such a person, and it's off-putting.
I can't.
She looks
is
like
that
a
like
Muppet.
is that frills or are those like protruding like boobs?
I think she has boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She kind of looks like that. She looks like Scrupulous Fingor in
She
the Police
does.
Department, kind of.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to
SpongeBob endures a
Fingor.
wacky gauntlet and makes his way to a magic shop
Yeah.
where the patty has disappeared into.
And so we get this stranger who looks like Krabby Patty with Groucho Marx glasses.
I really like this bit, but it's really weird.
Yeah, I kind of most of the time really like the bit where like a character puts on a silly disguise and the other character can't recognize them at all. SpongeBob like it's like wait a second, and he sees the magic shop. And you think maybe he's gonna catch on. He's like, wait, you're a magician, and he goes off on this whole tangent.
Yeah.
And then it causes Plankton to flip out and say a line I thought was pretty interesting, where he said, "And I thought I was the master of torture." Since when were you the master of torture, Plankton? What are you talking about?
He has a
Who has
past.
Plankton tortured?
Fred in SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout in season 12.
That's in season 12. None of us have
Yeah.
watched that.
Well,
I've
yeah, he has
watched
to
it.
prove himself. He's the master of
But,
torture.
yeah, who is Plankton torturing so much to the point where he deems himself the master of it?
What part of being like? I think it's funny how like this is one of the episodes where like it really leans into Plankton being like evil mad genius, even though he's just like
Yeah.
a guy who owns a shitty restaurant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I imagine this is how the Arby's CEO acts. That's like it's just kind of like pathetic Plankton is. I feel like I personally at least think of it as more like a later season thing to have episodes where Plankton just like mopes around and is sad. But here he's just like absolute little loser of a man.
Yeah, it's kind of a far cry from his first appearance where he was like able to deceive SpongeBob and get his way, more or
Yeah.
less. And SpongeBob shows him a little bit of pity here and saying, "I'd be your friend if I could."
But then
Says
everyone else
the
shows up
winner.
to jeer him.
Yeah.
This is such
Yeah.
a funny bit that they all congregate together to just publicly shame Plankton.
I love how Squidward,
Including-
like I said in Culture Shock, Squidward shows up. He's the one doing most of the verbal beatdown, being like, "How does it feel being the most hated creature?"
Yeah, the most hated thing in Bikini Bottom. And he says, "I know," which makes me think that he remembers how everyone jeered him at the end of the
Yeah.
last episode.
Yeah.
Squidward is like hardcore projecting right here.
Yeah, like I don't know if it was intended to come across that way, but it sure does feel like he's like happy that someone else is getting shit because it means he can be part of the crowd.
Yeah. God, I'm sorry, Squidward. You at least don't get any like bad things happening to you in this one.
Yeah, he kind of doesn't appear again.
And then they make him the
Gonna have to
honorary
talk-
town
We're
rookie.
gonna have to talk about Flesh Hat Incidental soon, because, like,
Yeah,
Oh right.
let's just take a
Hold
little
on.
flesh hat diversion
on.
because he appears here.
yeah, he's here, but he doesn't have the Flesh Hat in this scene. That's
Yeah,
just his
he's just-
regular hat.
He's just
he's doing
hat.
the
No,
He's
he's
doing
there,
the-
but then like they cut to Plankton, and they cut back to the Jolly Good Rook, put the donut on him or whatever, and he has the flesh hat.
Does
He's,
he?
Yeah.
he's doing the Moai doo-wop face in that one frame you posted.
Oh, he does have the flesh hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Flesh Hatfish. He's
got it
wearing
from-
a brim and nothing else.
He just has
It
the
looks like he just
brim.
has like a lumpy head and like some very scraggly looking eyebrows.
Yeah. They tossed him so
Also-
high the sky turned green.
Yeah. There's another thing I want to talk about here. It's just how weirdly proportioned Plankton is compared to his door. Like, he is a massive compared to his door in this next
There's
frame.
lots of weird proportions. Like, if we go back a minute when
Wait.
Plankton's talking with SpongeBob, SpongeBob's so weird and short and squat.
Mhm. Yeah. what
Yeah.
the f-
I feel like
so
there's more to
big.
talk about in this episode than jank animation, but
I mean, as I want to talk about what the hell the Rookie of the Year bit is. I like, never got this. What's with like the big donut with the ribbon?
It's like
I-
police
I have to
propaganda.
assume it's a cops love donuts joke.
Is,
Yeah.
it, is,
guess.
is he like becoming like an honorary cop or something? I guess that makes sense. I just never like.
Yeah.
This was always just like complete nonsense to me, like some bizarre bikini bottom ritual.
Yeah.
And
Like, oh yeah,
Now-
bikini bottom. When you save the day, they give you a giant donut belt and throw you into the air.
I do like their immediate disinterest after it's over,
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
Funny.
whatever.
Like it's this is just like a constant like fast pacing
Wait.
of like whatever would be the funniest thing to happen happens. It feels very well polished. I will say the scene kind of goes on for like 2 minutes to just set up Plankton is sad and can't get the formula.
Yeah.
I feel like later on in the episode they kind of rushed to end things a little bit. I feel like they could have cut this a bit maybe because it does go on for a long time. But at the same time, it's like
Yeah,
so
it's,
full of good jokes. I don't know what they'd cut.
I don't
No.
want them to cut this one down because if something goes on for a while but it's funny, I can excuse a rushed ending, honestly. And
Yeah,
I guess
that's
the magic shop is just in front of the Krusty Krab and always has been.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Like you can see the sacrifices they made to get this whole sequence.
But I think it paid off. I think it's probably the strongest opener to any of the episodes so far, if you ask me.
For sure.
Honestly,
It's very
yeah, it's a good opener.
Mhm.
I think this episode interests me because it simultaneously feels like sort of a weird plot for your second Plankton episode, but also a very natural plot for a second Plankton episode.
I mean, it tracks for me. Like the first one is about Plankton, the idea, the Plankton of the guy who is the antagonist who wants to steal the formula. And this is more on Plankton, the man. What makes
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
man so desperate to steal the formula and how he acts in his personal life.
And
Anyway,
Plankton,
this is the most Karen characterization we're getting until, like, Plankton's army, maybe so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, SpongeBob goes over to Plankton's house, which is his restaurant, to play.
yeah, he
Plankton
wants
just cuts him
Yeah.
off.
he asks Plankton if he wants to play toys with him, and he's not having it. That is until Karen plants the seeds of
The sponge
evil in
bab.
his brain.
That's the SpongeBob. Karen's
Okay, so I need to
Midwestern
bring this
accent.
up because in the subtitles to me, it said befriend the sponge bath.
Yeah, that's the same way that's what it
Hmm.
also said in Paramount Plus's subtitles too.
Not what she
Awesome.
fucking says. She says SpongeBob.
Yes.
Yeah.
His name is not SpongeBath.
I
don't
do
know
like
why it says a sponge bath.
I do like the sudden 180 that Karen is like an actual character now, not just a
Mhm.
computer, because she's
Mhm.
like scolding Plankton the entire episode.
We're also getting like this is what I also think of like a later season dynamic where like Plankton's just a sad, pathetic meow meow man, and Plankton and like Karen's the one like who has to steer him in any sort of right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Plankton goes along with it.
There's also I don't know if you noticed, there's a very funny subtle joke where like SpongeBob's like talking to Plankton and he's like, "We can I like to go jelly," and then like he closes the door and then when he opens the door, he just like starts talking right where he left off.
Yeah, I noticed that and I love that so much.
I And so they go to Jellyfish Fields now,
Mm-hmm.
and SpongeBob wants to show him all the fun of jellyfishing, and
We
Plankton
talked before
wonders,
about how they like codified how the jellyfish look. This episode has some pretty weird looking jellyfish.
yeah,
There's like a striped jellyfish, and there's a jellyfish with spots and a stripe.
He's so happy here.
He is happy, but he's
Yeah.
he's just like having a little fun game. He looks so cute sitting on his little jellyfish chair.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to me that apparently Plankton doesn't know what a jellyfish is because he doesn't realize they have stingers, and that's what sparks his like daydream.
I guess he just doesn't get out much.
Yeah.
And so SpongeBob says that they don't eat jellyfish, they just catch them for fun.
I mean, you also milk them. He doesn't mention that. I don't know if you. I saw this on the wiki that the joke was originally like Plankton being like, "When do we shoot them?" He like holds the net like a gun, but they made them censor it, which I guess is fair.
Doesn't he still hold the net like a gun?
He
I think
does.
he might.
He
Yeah,
holds it like a hunting rifle.
he was originally more textually bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
But I don't know, eating them is still
I mean, yeah,
killing them.
it's more subtle than him just being like, "When do we fucking kill these animals?" Anyway, SpongeBob realizes he needs to teach Plankton what fun is, and so he sings a little song.
Yeah. About 3 letters of the alphabet that come together to spell a certain word.
Come on,
Okay.
grow up. No, keep that on there. Keep
Well,
that
yeah.
on there.
Please.
Okay.
But also grow up.
I like this song sequence.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh yeah.
The song is very cute. It's very charming to me to this day. It left a very big impression to me as a kid. It was one of the SpongeBob songs me and my friends would sing on like the school bus when we took a field trip.
Yeah, it's
Honestly, lots of the early SpongeBob songs feel very iconic, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So is there some continuity here between this and like Patrick getting like nose surgery in season?
I was thinking of the exact same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Hold on, I need to look at like the gallery for that episode now just to see if it's the same plate, because that was like before they started doing all the big callback stuff. But
Yeah.
You need
It
to
would
do a
be
deep
neat.
dive into Something Smells from season 5.
yeah, it doesn't look like it's from season 6. First of all,
I'm so sorry.
and it's called No Nose Knows. Something Smells is the season 2 episode.
I'm a fake Patrick Knows episode fan.
Anyway, it doesn't look like the same place, but I still think
I mean,
we
maybe
can pretend they're the same place.
personally, I think it's funnier, but like, if it's like there's just competing nose attachment center businesses. I mean, you need to also give a little shout out to like Plankton's iconic evil fuck up version of the song.
Yeah.
Plankton just being like
Yeah.
little violent evil man in this episode.
Yeah.
The pacing on "Use for Uranium" bombs that gets me every time.
God,
I
it's
think
killer.
this is the most like a brutal Plankton portrayal in like any episodes, because I don't think he's this like psyched about people dying.
He wants
as-
to kill so bad.
Yeah.
He's so,
And so-
cartoonishly evil here. I love it.
So they do the song.
Also, wait,
There's
also SpongeBob makes him do a little dance. That's cute.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there's something like directly after the song I want to bring up.
Yeah. It's,
So you
is it
see
the telescope?
this thing, yeah, this here where it's like the redded paleted Krusty Krab with the telescope,
Mhm.
and then after the song, like
Is this like an animation error, or is it supposed to be like a really subtle joke?
I don't know.
It is the exact color as the last one. Part of me feels like it's a fuck up.
Like it could
might
be a
be a
joke
fuck
also
up.
that like, oh, the telescope was actually red and it wasn't just the lighting, but it could also be an animation error because this episode looks
Because,
really
like,
weird.
Because, like, telescopes in SpongeBob usually are, like, the blue toned, like...
Yeah, it'd be the same color as, like, the crow's nest he's standing in right there
Yeah.
normally.
Yeah.
Which it appears to be wood in the one screenshot, but metal in this one.
Oh, yeah. They swapped.
Mr. Krabs' famous red telescope.
This is gonna be like his like forward air when he gets out his Nick All-Star Brawl 2.
Yeah.
No, they're gonna reference Culture Shock again, and he's gonna have his like fire skid move that he had when he approached Squidward.
That'd be kind of
Yeah.
awesome, honestly.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I
we
wouldn't
get
mind that.
our first of many later on Karen nagging Plankton scenes.
Yeah.
Now, here's something I want to ask. Was Plankton genuine about this like the whole time, or did he know from the start that he was just like,
I mean,
this is how it was going to end up for him?
like this scene makes me think that like it was just like genuine. He was just loving it, and he like in the end, him being evil wins out. But like he was enjoying this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think he'd be like lying to Karen and putting on pants ironically.
I mean, I guess, but we don't really see the heel turn later that when it stops being genuine.
It is a little weird. It feels like in terms of like plotting this episode, especially later on, it kind of like it goes more for like jokes and snappiness than actually conveying like a coherent plot, which is like fine because it's like a silly SpongeBob funny cartoon. But it is noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And so Mr. Krabs confronts SpongeBob about this because he had like really, really good pictures of them doing that from such far away. Is that telescope also like a camera or something?
I guess.
Mr. Krabs' red telescope camera.
Yeah, he got that from the magic shop.
Yeah. Fuck.
And SpongeBob is trying to pitch to Mr. Krabs that he's changed. Plankton's a good friend now.
Yeah, Plankton comes in and Mr. Krabs tries tempting him with a Krabby Patty, but Plankton isn't having it.
Plankton buddy.
Plankton
That's just
buddy.
That's just a weird line that's always stuck with me.
It's like he calls him Sponge Buddy, and he doesn't have anything like a good Plankton version.
Yeah.
Plankton's another thing, like we learned that he made a decoy of it, but there was no camera shot, like there was no cut back from then.
Like this is what I mean by like this episode goes for more like jokes than being a coherent story. There's like it's like the camera's like literally fixated on Plankton the whole time there's a Krabby Patty, and like the joke is supposed to be there's no way he could have done that.
Yeah.
But like it doesn't make sense as a story, and I think part of the problem it's not like that funny a joke to justify it, but like alright.
It'd land better as an audience like joke if it just had like a quick camera shot to Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob in the kitchen. Like we'd still get the how'd he do that, but I don't know.
I think it's kind of funnier if it
makes
like
it funnier to me.
Yeah, the way that's like literally impossible is a little funny, but also like kind of shoots this up. It's kind of weird how this episode also like does to some extent try to be a genuine like character piece with emotional moments, but also like is ultimately more interested in telling jokes. Kind of like how Plankton seems to generally be having fun, but ultimately is more interesting in stealing the formula.
Or maybe Plankton is a great magician, and SpongeBob was right about it earlier.
Yeah, it is kind of weird that we have like two very different Plankton magician themed jokes. I never really thought about that.
Right.
Yeah. This is the Plankton magic block. I do like Mr. Krabs just trying to tempt Plankton, just slowly pushing the patty closer and closer.
I like how extra like the fan is.
And
how offended SpongeBob's like being offended on Plankton's behalf.
And I do like they gave a little bit where Mr. Krabs is like, maybe he did change. and then maybe scallops will fly out of my pants, and he just runs away with the cash register.
Yeah, rowing the
Yeah.
cash register boat.
He
Very
has
fun.
to keep his eye on the cash register at all times.
Yeah.
Where's Squidward?
Well, he's dead. Died off screen.
I
Don't
can't
worry about
believe he committed Squidward's suicide.
So sad. He seemed like he was
No.
having such a
So
good day.
But
him.
he had such a good day that he got killed by a wild animal on his way home or something. I guess.
Sad. Many such cases.
This is
Yeah.
so sad. Anyway, we get probably the worst joke of the episode of Bubble Bass's beloved second appearance.
Yeah.
Oh God.
This is like what I was afraid Bubble Bass was gonna be, and what he kind of becomes, I guess. Where like the joke of Bubble Bass is just he's fat and annoying, and he eats food and is fat.
I want to bring up
Yeah.
that SpongeBob is the only one in the theater that has anything to eat, and it's this giant thing of popcorn.
Yeah, it's like a 3-gallon bucket of popcorn.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah.
Plankton said he was saving his appetite for some popcorn at the movies. Anyway, we
That's
get
not
a.
very filling.
It's this scene does stand out because it's like a minor Bubble Bass bit, which is weird because it's the kind of thing that like you watch Pickles and you watch this, and you think, oh, Bubble Bass, this is gonna be like a guy who appears sometimes now. And he
just
disappears for a
doesn't talk
decade.
in this.
Yeah,
he
this
just
is
completely disappears. This is the most Bubble Bass we're getting until season 8. He doesn't even talk in this episode. He just
Yeah.
kind of is there.
That is a little weird.
it's like a
Like he-
passing of the torch.
He gets like called by name and everything, like just casually, like, oh, this is Bubble Bass, the guy we know.
Yeah.
Beloved Cretan Bubble Bass.
Anyway, Bubble Bass aside, we get Mr. Krabs showing up, and
There is a small visual gag I like, actually, which is where Bubble Bass gets away and SpongeBob just tries to put his arm around Plankton,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
You think this episode could be taken romantically?
Maybe.
You could probably read into it that way if you want, with like it being like the scandalous affair of SpongeBob and his enemy.
That just brings into question knowing Plankton is the same age as Mr. Krabs. Is SpongeBob into DILFs?
I mean, look at him.
I mean, it's generally implied that Squidward is a bit older than SpongeBob, so I mean, I'm not ruling it out.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, I want to talk about probably my favorite joke in the like last act of the episode, where Mr. Krabs is like, reach into his pocket now and take what he's got, and everyone in the theater just fucking robs the guy next to them.
Yeah.
Yeah!
It's so fucking stupid, but I love it. Also, I like Fred being on, I guess, this date with Orange Incidental Fish guy.
Yeah.
Love wins.
Love
I want
wins.
to hear how their day went. Frankly,
I'm glad you put that image on screen of them. Specifically that image.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, you know, they do. Oh, yeah, they do this.
it looks like Plankton's concerned by it. How you framed it there. So SpongeBob reaches into Plankton's famous flesh pocket.
Yeah.
His marsupial pouch he has, where he's been keeping the Krabby Patty.
I feel like we haven't had a flesh pocket in a while.
Yeah, I wrote down Plankton's second SpongeBob character to have a flesh pocket. Actually, I'm sorry. I want to go back to, the romance discussion, because I was thinking... I feel like they sort of frame Mr. Krabs showing SpongeBob the pictures as if he's cheating on Plankton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking that. Like, I don't think I even realized that. But yeah, subconsciously, I was like, wow, this feels scandalous.
Yeah.
The amount of homoerotic subtext in these season 1 episodes is so palpable.
And we get this, the climax of the episode, which is kind of a weird scene, and how, it's just a straightforward emotional scene, and, I guess the joke is that it gets subverted by Plankton being like, no, actually, fuck you. But it's weird how this, weepy and genuine it seems.
Yeah.
And yeah, we don't really see his heel turn. The last thing that could like have pointed him in that direction is when Karen pulled him up and showing he was wearing funny square pants. But like, what if Plankton actually did enjoy this?
Yeah, but like it isn't made very clear as a character arc, which is fine. But I guess to some extent, part of me wishes we got like a genuine Plankton like character exploration with more depth. But also, in the end, it's just the funny SpongeBob show, and the evil cartoon villains can be like, "No, I actually love being evil. Fuck you."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the status quo will be restored.
And I do like the gag with the movie. It's like nothing will tear us apart, and the screen rips. I always thought that was funny.
It's supposed to be
And
fucking
Plankton
awful
died.
for like those 3 other people in the theater. Like, imagine like you're going to the movies and like your date robs you, and then some guy breaks the movie screen.
Yeah.
I like to think Fred and Orange Fish reconciled after this, though. It wasn't personal.
Anyway, the episode ends. SpongeBob's like in shock that Plankton betrayed him and he got away. But then Mr. Krabs reveals that behind every movie screen is solid concrete. It's always a memorable line to me for some reason.
What did Plankton think he was? Where did he think he was gonna go?
Yeah.
He didn't know that behind every movie theater screen there was solid concrete.
Okay, so I want to point out something, which is like when Mr. Krabs holds up the Krabby Patty, it looks so unappetizing there.
Yeah.
I mean, it got squished against solid concrete.
Also,
No,
can
yeah,
we
like
I
Can we
mean,
just-
yeah,
can we discuss
it just
how
looks
the
like the least appetizing Krabby Patty that wasn't specifically designed to be unappetizing.
It's very shriveled and pathetic.
how the force of plankton in a Krabby Patty was enough to make a crater in the concrete with like oozing patty juices?
I hate the patty juice is so gross to me.
yeah.
Anyway, episode ends with one final Bubble Bass eating food gag, and
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah,
Literally.
that was the
Yay.
episode fuck we just watched.
Yeah.
So what do we think
How
of
did
this?
we think of this one?
Well, you're gonna say
I mean,
what you
you
thought
go
of it.
first.
Yeah, you're the first one.
You're on the left.
Oh well, I wanted to go later this time.
Okay, we can do it
We,
in
we
reverse
can't mix
order.
up the formula after we've established it.
Fine.
Did
This-
somebody
It's-
say the formula?
Oh shit,
Oh.
it's plankton. Yeah, I gave this one like, the reason I wanted to go later is because I'm kind of between like a 5 and a 6 on it.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you can have
Yeah.
some time to decide if someone else wants to go first.
Actually, let's go in reverse order. Let's start
Sure.
with me for a change, the special guest.
Oh yeah, special
I-
guest should go first.
Yeah, I really liked this episode, and for like all of the TV tropes mistakes in this episode and the janky animation, it's still a genuinely funny, like enjoyable episode. I think Mr. Lawrence is really good as Plankton as always, and it's a fun time, you might say. This is why I don't go first normally.
Yeah, I gave this one a 6. I think, as I've kind of indicated, I think the last third act is a lot weaker than the first two, but the first two are very fun. The opening chase scene is super just packed with one awesome, wonderful gag after another. I love the just general dynamic between Plankton and SpongeBob. Plankton just being completely evil in this episode, I think, is a little jarring, but also in a funny way, and it also makes him work very in a fun way as a foil to SpongeBob's just absolute naivete and happiness. And I love it's cute seeing them become friends, even if it doesn't last. And of course, that has the song. And I think the ending is not desolate, but it is a little slower, and it doesn't really wrap up in as satisfying a way as it could have.
Yeah.
It doesn't completely shoot the episode down for me. It's still definitely strong enough overall and classic and memorable that I definitely want to give it a 6.
Mhm. Yeah, I gave it a 6 as well. I think this is just like one of the first episodes I think of when I think classic SpongeBob, because it's so good. Very good Plankton character episode. Very good, like, Mr. Krabs Plankton SpongeBob dynamic episode, I think. But weird kind of weird character weird stuff at the start with like the chase sequence and like the Jolly Good Rookie thing and like, but like it's charmingly weird, you know? And I like, yeah, I like the episode. It's good. And I like the song.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with the 6. I do agree that, like, it could be better plotted, but there's lots of good gags, lots of fun Plankton character. I think this is a very good episode for, like, setting up Plankton more. Like, he's more cartoonishly evil here than he is in later episodes, but
Oh yeah.
it's good for getting, like, a deeper look at Plankton and finding out who he is.
For sure.
Yeah, it definitely does a
It's an
good job of
interesting
expanding
direction
on.
to, like, it's an interesting direction to take the SpongeBob. It's an interesting direction to take Plankton as a character in his second appearance to just try and do this sort of redemption story for him.
Yeah, I feel like this really like sets up a lot of what like makes Plankton appealing and like his vulnerability alongside his cartoon villainy.
Yeah. I agree. It's a fun episode,
It's a very
as the
fun
title
episode.
clearly indicates.
Woohoo.
Anyway, this has been
Thank you.
us talking about our favorite SpongeBob show. I hope you all enjoyed this episode where we talked about 2 episodes, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. This was a
Yeah.
blast. I
Yeah,
hope
no
I get to
problem.
do it again sometime.
You'll be here every week.
I mean, we could
We'll
invite
trap you
you
in the
next
basement.
week where we talk about Muscle Bob Buff Pants and Squidward's the unfriendly ghost if you can clear it in your schedule.
Nah, I don't think I can, honestly.
Randal
Damn.
got killed by
Aw.
a wild animal on the way home.
I was literally about to say that. I have in my schedule. I'm gonna go get mauled to death like Squidward in the last episode.
Good
But
night,
I-
everybody.
Good night.
Haha.